let's get it boys, Young Benjii, episode 3 of Unpopular Opinions, and in today's episode we're going to be doing something a little different. Both my previous episodes have been gun comparisons, and in today's episode we're looking at landing locations. These landing locations, I think, are the best for setting you up to get a win in Fortnite. Now I want to say straight away that these aren't locations you should be dropping if you're trying to get high kill gameplays. This isn't the purpose of this video, so you won't see places like Tilted Towers, Pleasant Park or Retail Row on this list. I'll put in some short clips so you can see the setup I have when I leave each of the locations. The rest of the clips will just be some of the kills from these games, and I'll leave in the clips where I actually change my setup, but you'll notice that for the most part, my setup doesn't tend to change until the very end of the game, when players are dropping some seriously good loot. In third place of my landing locations is Snobby Shores. First off, I just want to start by saying if you do go to Snobby, I recommend never land on that end house closest to Pleasant Park. This house I feel is definitely the worst house in Snobby, and although you manage to get an end house meaning no one will kill you from behind, you're usually going to struggle to find a chest, meaning you're likely going to have weaker weapons and less shields than the players you run into. You'll have seen earlier in the clip that I left my first house with a full green setup and 100 shield. The guy who I killed landed at that 5th house and left with 2 standard revolvers and no shield. Snobby Shores is probably the most popular out of the 3 locations in this video, meaning there's the highest chance of dying, but it also got the most amount of chests at 17 possible chest spawns. It also has a ton of floor drops, meaning you're often leaving Snobby Shores with a setup you can take to the end game. You're almost always guaranteed a top 25 finish if you make it out of Snobby Shores alive, as you won't be running into anyone for a long time after you leave. The one negative thing about Snobby Shores is its slow loot time. I've found times where I haven't even managed to loot all the houses before the storm starts moving in, and with Snobby being so close to the edge of the map, I end up leaving a house unlooted just so I can make it into the circle without taking any damage. But again, if you do manage to loot the entire location, you can be set up for an entire game easily. You'll always leave with 100 shield, and Snobby is a good location for all game modes. Whether you run solos, duos or squads, there's likely enough loot to have a whole team packing some serious weaponry. If you plan on landing Snobby, just make sure you pray before the game for a launch pad. Coming in second place is Haunted Hills. Haunted Hills has to be the most underrated landing location in the game. I've seen ranking videos where Haunted is at the bottom of the list, and in my opinion it's one of the better locations in the game. With 12 possible chest locations, plus another 2 buildings just outside, there's easily enough loot to set yourself up for the early to mid game. Haunted Hills is probably the least visited location in the game, and this makes it a great spot for new players, or even some of the more experienced players who just struggle to make it out of the early game. You're likely going to be alone if you land at Haunted, even if the battle bus flies in directly above, and this makes it one of the safest locations in the game, and it's one of the reasons I think Haunted Hills should be higher up on these ranking videos. But the thing that makes Haunted stand out the most to me is the direct route to Pleasant Park and the perfect timing for the player landing at Haunted. You can loot all of Haunted Hills and arrive in Pleasant Park just as the very last survivors finish doing their looting. Most of the time you'll find that these players are lower on health than you because of the action that happens in Pleasant Park, and you can net yourself a couple of easy kills and the best loot from one of the most popular locations in the game. Now loot time is the reason Haunted sneaks in above Snobby Shores. I can clear Haunted on solos in 3 minutes easy, and that gives me more than enough time to make it into even the furthest away circles. If you're running duos, it's even better. You can have your teammates land at the castle, and you yourself land at the broken archway, and if you both go clockwise, you can clear the place in less than a minute and a half. If you are going solo, you always want to land at the broken archway, as you can see how many chests are there, whereas you can't see that when you land at the castle. The archway also has 2 chests very close by, so if there is someone else land at Haunted, you have the possibility of being 4 chests deep before the opponent has even managed to get 2. Now I will say if you're going to play squads, it's probably not the best location for a full team. There's sometimes enough loot for 3 people, but land there with 4 is a no from me. What you might want to do instead, and this is something that me and my friends have done, is to send 2 people to Haunted Hills, 1 player to Junk Junction, and 1 player to the castle area just outside Pleasant Park. If you then all meet up at the corner of Pleasant Park by the red house, you're going to be very set up to take on the winners of Pleasant Park. And finally, coming in at the number 1 spot on this list, Risky Fucking Reels. Now this is a location that seems to be dying out, and you'll see in this clip that there's only one of their team lands here, and I'm not sure why this place is dying out. It's easily one of the best locations in the game, even including places like Retail and Pleasant Park. There's 14 locations for chests in Risky Reels, if you include the car that's right outside, and there's a bunch of surrounding areas that are great for loot. 3 sets of houses nearby, and a tree with a possible 2 more chests. There's also a nice amount of floor drops in Risky Reels, a vending machine, and hop rocks. Now obviously hop rocks aren't going to affect your end game setup, but they do give you a big advantage in making it out of the early game. My advice to you if you land at risky reels would be to always try and land on a building. This might sound obvious and it's something that's always done in every other location, but for some reason I always see people aiming for the centre and trying to grab hop rocks straight away. This might sound like fun, but dying straight away certainly doesn't. There's still going to be some hop rocks left for you if you manage to take out all the noobs that land there. So please, if you're smart and you watch this video, don't do what I did at the beginning of this clip and land on the floor. Land on a building, preferably the building furthest north, but if you can't reach that one, then aim for the slightly smaller building that has the vending machine in it. Risky reels is good for all game modes unlike Haunted, especially as you can send teammates up to the sets of houses on the outside while a couple of you work on looting the main area. It also has a great clear time, and with the distance you can cover with hop rocks, it can make risky reels feel a lot closer to the centre of the map than previous locations. You can make it to Tomato Town before the circle even starts closing in, and the usual route you'll take will lead you to another place full of hop rocks, Dusty Divot. If you follow this route you'll find you won't run into much trouble. The players land at Tomato Town often aren't going to be a problem. I never see too many good players choosing Tomato Town as their starting location. The only reason the kill count is so high in this clip is because we chose to go towards Lonely Lodge, and with the search chest challenge being in Lonely Lodge this week, it was an easy way to pick up a few kills. But speaking of Lonely Lodge, this is another great location that I wanted to include in this video. It's sad that I couldn't because of the search chest challenge, but I will quickly say that if this challenge wasn't on right now, Lonely Lodge would have been second on this list behind Risky Reels. 12 chests, easy to farm map, a vending machine and a direct route to Retail Row. People sleep on Lonely Lodge. And finally again, I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. If you want to watch episode 1 or 2, links will be in the description. If you have any ideas for future episodes, leave them down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed, hit that subscribe button to make my day, and until next time, this is your boy Young Benjii signing out. Peace, boys!